So Payday 2 has finally released on the Nintendo Switch, at least in the US eShop. See, last week I was able to get a hold of the copy when it did launch on the 23rd in the European eShop, and I've been playing it ever since. And while I do like Payday 2, I have actually enjoyed it before on the PC, when I look at the Switch version, I see a game that's fun, but also overpriced. So today I'm going to kind of go through it with you guys so you can have at least a fair grasp on what this game entails so you can make the best decision when you go to buy it or if you decide to pass on it. So let's get into it. First up, let's talk about visuals. I was actually impressed. Honestly, I'm gonna say this. I was surprised that they said that this is basically going to have similar or even the same resolution as the PS4 and the Xbox One, and it's running at the same frame rate. Now, the PS4 and the Xbox One run at 30 frames per second, and the PS4 and Xbox One run at 1080p and everything. The Switch version has 1080p in dock mode, 720p in handheld mode. They did use the phrase up to, which clearly says they're using some kind of dynamic resolution, and it can change. You can actually kind of spot it at times when you're playing, but it does not at all detract from the experience. The one thing that does, and it's the same with the PS4 and the Xbox One, maybe not as much, but there is frame dropping. So you're playing, it's 30 frames, then things start happening on screen, and it will start to kind of slow down and stutter. That is pretty easy to see. But again, it's something that I've seen and used to with the PS4 and the Xbox One version, where it doesn't always hold 30 frames. It does drop below that. So I'm kind of used to it, and honestly, the PC version is the only one that's eye-opening because you can pretty much hit 60 frames with that one. But for console versions, I was pleasantly surprised. The Switch completely holds its own. I guess we should go over what is Payday 2, specifically what is the Payday series. Well, Payday 2 has had a pretty long and storied history at this point, going all the way back to the 360, but recently to the PS4, Xbox One, and the PC, and now it's on the Switch. So what you do in this game is you play as a pretty much a criminal that is going on heists with other criminals. Essentially, you are basically being hired as hitmen to rob banks and other establishments. The cool thing about this game is it's a fully cooperative game where you and 3 other people essentially go and rob large banks, small jewelry stores, trains. There's all kinds of cool stuff that you end up going on, and they did a good job varying these different heists, so it doesn't always feel the same. There are ones that are similar, for example, where you go to rob Bank A and then you go to another bank, which is slightly larger, and then you're kind of doing the similar thing there where you're trying to drill into the vault and then steal all of the money. The idea here is to make it out of the heist in one piece with a ton of money that you send to your offshore account, and then you keep some as spending money. And that's kind of where the game becomes interesting, and mostly, I mean, it's very addictive to play this game because the idea is to then build up your reputation and your character. So the money that you get from these heists, you take and you buy weapons, you end up having skill points, so there is essentially a skill tree that is very similar to an RPG style game, and then you also have experience that then levels your character up, and then you can also do things that will benefit the group around you. It's a pretty in-depth game when you get into this. They have tons of specialized weapons, tons of masks, I think over 240 masks, which you put on when you actually start doing nefarious things in these banks. And overall, it's going to keep you really playing this game because it is constantly rewarding you with new things, new weapons, new modifications for your weapons, new outfits, new Easter eggs. There's so much stuff packed in this game that it is, at face value, worth the money. The real problem here, the thing that really takes away from the $50 price tag this game has right now on the Switch, are all of the other versions. So the Switch version currently is the most expensive version, and it's also the most outdated version. It's also missing a very key feature to this game that you pretty much need when you play Payday 2, and that is voice chat. That's something we're just missing. Probably every other review you've seen, this has come up because it's so glaringly obvious that this is missing and it's needed. Now, what I will recommend is if you're getting this game, make sure you have other people, at least one other person you can play with, because if you try to play in random matches where you cannot talk to them, then you're going to run into a lot of issues. Things will not get done right, and good luck trying to run any of these missions in stealth. That's right, you can run these missions without ever alerting the authorities, but if you can't communicate and tell them when you are sneaking in or when you're doing this to take a certain guard hostage, it's going to be very difficult. You can't even use, obviously, there's no sign language or anything you could do. There's not even, which is weird, any kind of like shortcut to say like already set up phrases or anything like hold or you know, advance or anything like that. It's pretty much you're just playing the game like mute. Now, the reason I say get another person is because, of course, you can set up Discord, you can set up a Google Hangouts, you can set up all kinds of third-party voice options that are not on the Switch. This is something I would have liked to have seen Starbreeze or Overkill or Nintendo, somebody step up and make this work. Especially, I mean, even give us the app. I know no one likes the app, but at least it's there, right? At least it's something we can do. But in this case, they put out a game that heavily relies on in-game communication without any in-game communication. And that's something that pretty much all the other versions have. Now, all of the other versions are also updated beyond the Switch version, and they are all cheaper. The PC version is probably the best way to play this game if you can. If not, the PS4 and the Xbox One version are the next best way to play this game. They are also behind the PC version, though, and unfortunately, with Overkill's track record at this point, people are worried that the Switch version will not get updated at all. Now, I would say it will probably get updated at some point to the Xbox One and the PS4 version. It's about an update or so ahead of the Switch version, but I don't think the Switch version will probably ever get updated to where the PC version is at this time. I would at least like to see parity with the other console versions, especially since they're asking for a premium price compared to the PS4 and the Xbox One version. Now, I've talked about some things I don't really like about this version, but I want to talk about something that I really like with the Switch version. I think it's something that other games can benefit and really give these games new life outside of what they're used to with things like the PS4 and the Xbox One and the PC. So the one cool thing I like about the Switch version is in handheld mode, it has this LAN feature. So you and other people can sit around and play locally with your Switch systems in handheld mode. Up to 4 people can do this, connect, and you guys can all play. So it's almost like having a LAN party without having to set up like TVs and PS4s or TVs and Xboxes or computer monitors and PCs, big towers. That was always a pain. The idea of being able to kind of take your Switch with you and then kind of just sit down at a friend's house and start playing, even if they're on their TV and you're on your Switch, or maybe you guys are all out at a convention and you're maybe going back to the hotel room for the night and you're like, oh, we have our Switch, let's all play Payday 2, let's run some heists. That was amazing to me. That sounds like such a great way to play this game. You don't need in-game communication if you guys are all sitting around and playing in the same room. So that is a feature I really like, and I hope to see more games include this that are very similar in whether it's cooperative play or maybe team, maybe you have like 4-on-4 and you guys can be in different rooms against each other. That makes me really like what the Switch can do with some of these games. I guess one other thing to mention is if you're going to get this game, make sure you have an online connection that you're going to be using a lot. Because in this game, if you play offline and you're playing with the computers, you're not going to have fun. The computers are kind of dumb in this game. Most times they will at least help you up, they'll cover for you, but they won't grab money and take it to the truck or do anything to help you complete objectives. They mostly run around, follow you, and then help you up if you fall or are trying to be taken into custody. They obviously cannot take orders because there's no way to order them around well, and mostly they just stand around. So make sure you have friends you can play with, or just make sure you can play online, because even playing with randoms without voice chat is miles better than playing with the computer. So my final thoughts on this game are pretty simple. Buy this game if you have no other option and you want a cooperative first-person shooter. I think Overkill saw that there was no real first-person shooter on the Switch, certainly nothing like Payday 2, and they wanted to capitalize and jump on that quickly. Does the price reflect that? Yeah, probably. They know there's nothing else really competing with it on the Switch. Sure, there's some like shooters like Splatoon, but it's nothing like Payday 2, right? Splatoon 2 is bright and colorful, and then in Payday 2, you're holding up banks at gunpoint, so it's completely different between the two. Now, I will say if you have other options, whether it's the PS4, the Xbox One, or the PC specifically, and you've looked at Payday 2, you've never been sure, but you've seen some of the hype around the Switch version, get the PC version. That's where you're going to have the best experience. Even save some money, get the PS4 or the Xbox One version. Only get the Switch version if it's your only option, or or if you think that portable aspect is very appealing to you and you have friends who you would meet up with and actually use that feature. I think it's really neat to see that, and I do like that option to the point where I would actually buy it and play that with friends, whether it's at conventions or just around the house with siblings or whoever else. I think it's that good of an option. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think about Payday 2 on the Nintendo Switch. Maybe you've already bought it, maybe you're enjoying it, or maybe there are some things you don't like about it just yet, and maybe you're hoping for some updates. They have at least talked about voice chat somewhat. They said they've submitted to Nintendo to try to get on that application that they have on the phone, but they still haven't really heard back. So we're going to keep an eye on that, and I'll let you guys know if we get any kind of voice chat to Payday 2, because that would actually mark off one of the negatives I have about this game. So here's hoping they can get voice chat in. Guys, if this video is helpful to you, hit the like button. It really does help out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about Payday 2 and your feelings or your thoughts around this matter. Maybe you've had a ton of experience with this game because it's had a lot of ups and a lot of downs on the PC version. Maybe you were there for it, and maybe you have a certain opinion about Overkill, whether good or bad, and you could tell us down in the comments. Just let us know, I guess, a little backstory on it if you've been experiencing it for a while. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.